everybody, welcome to another session of Unreal, where my friend Strange Bro Jim and I learn the Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine 4 to be more specific. First thing first, of course I'm going to sell up. In the description below you will find a link to the Pogger shop where you can purchase energy mixes, sleep mixes, hydration, shakers, and stickers. And if you use creator code Blackheart, you will get a 10% discount. Now, last time we took a look at what was it called again? Convulsion reverbs, which we sort of understood, but not that much. Hopefully we don't really need to rely on it, or at least not too much when we start making a game. And today we were supposed to going to start the MIDI device, MIDI in the Unreal Engine. I sort of know what MIDI is, I just don't know how Unreal uses it and what for. So let me hop on over to my Discord stage because I think Jim just finished up with his Pega stuff. And we should be getting started with this soon. I'm also gonna switch over to my other overlay. I'm gonna make this one bigger because I'm not sure if I'm gonna need the Unreal Engine one. So I have it open just in case. Jim must probably be just doing like final setup for his end because I see this starting soon on his stream. I'm gonna get it open separately. And hopefully MIDI is not too hard to understand. We'll probably end up having to learn how to use it anyways if we are to make our own audio and songs for our games. There he is. Alright. Desktop was muted. Sorry about that.
I need to fix what's being shown here a little bit.
He's having some technical issues. Hopefully we don't have any technical issues during this stream.
I don't know why it's not showing the entire screen anymore. Oh, actually, hold on. No, that's not true. I do know this. Okay. There we go. Split screen. So we're not necessarily doing anything with Unreal Engine directly right at this moment in time. So we're just going to go ahead and focus more on the web pages because that's pretty much all the information that we're getting right at this moment in time. But that's perfectly fine. Blackheart and I are just kind of going through the information to get a better understanding of what Unreal is all about. Speaking of Blackheart, he is currently in stage right now, so let me go ahead and invite him to speak. There we go, and oops.
Hello there. How you doing, Jim?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm doing okay.
Alright. I almost forgot to unmute you on my OBS. So yeah, we got about another hour of studying for Unreal. Like I mentioned before, you know, we're tackling all these different topics to learn as much as we can about it first before we start jumping into trying to work on something that that has been created before. We're going to just make it basically a clone of something first to start off with, so we can, you know, take what we've learned from these particular topics, from these particular, you know, from the documents that Unreal has provided us, and use them to make something that already has like already established rules and characters, visuals, whatever, to see if we can actually recreate it on Unreal. And then after that, now that we have like a little bit of a taste as to the process of doing that, we'll then take what we learned, or the little bits that we learned anyway, and we'll apply that to whatever we might build in the future. Uh, Obviously, we'll probably want to start off small, seeing it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Um, but the you know each thing that we make will eventually build into something more, into something greater. You know, if we start making money off of this, then we can start considering hiring uh, additional people, or letting them know, hey, if you want to join us, just know that you're probably going to get like pennies, for some of this, to
Yeah.
start off with. If anything, like not every indie group comes out with bangers every single time, right?
No,
So
sometimes it takes time.
yeah, and some of them are completely ignored altogether. I mean, let's face it. Um, indie devs, indie gaming companies don't have um, don't have all the eyes on them, right?
Right.
So, um, I mean, obviously, you and I will do what we can, with the streaming, to try to promote what we're doing. Like, like for example, when we finish off a game, you know, I would imagine that both of us would probably be playing said game, on stream for a while, to kind of promote it, right? That's probably what I would do. Um, but I mean, still, it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah. In my case, it probably depend on how long we make the game. If it's a
true,
short game, I'll probably make a video of it instead.
yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, we make, you know, we make some short videos of the gameplay and stuff like that, trailers and shorts and stuff like that. Obviously, would be very handy. But I mean, us playing the game, a stream or two or more, depending on what the game we make, right?
Yep.
If we find it fun, which obviously we should be kind of aiming for that anyway, right?
Yep.
Um,
Something we enjoy.
then we should be able to stream it for a little bit and say, hey guys, you can own this, kind of thing.
Yep.
So so, but yeah, that's but we'll get there. Um, but today we're going to be covering the MIDI and Unreal Engine. Um, Now, seeing that you know, I haven't touched a musical instrument in years. I don't know. Do you have any musical background, the
Uh,
Blackheart?
I have a classical guitar. My family keeps on nagging me on learning how to use it.
But you never played it yourself?
I've touched it for a little bit. I still can't get my hand can't get accustomed to it yet.
Understandable. Um, yeah, I was in high school marching band as a xylophone player, so that's my musical background. Um, but the um, I'm not going to say that I'm anywhere near a competent musician nowadays to even consider creating any kind of musical piece. Um, that's not my forte on that. That's I don't have the creative juices to uh, come up with anything like any kind of jingle or anything like that. To start off with, my mind would probably revert back to some like classical music or something like that. And go, oh yeah, let's play this. Wait, I've heard that song before. It's like that one video. It's like those YouTube videos where the guys like going, "Hey, I just created a brand new song. Here's this," and it's like, "Wait, I've heard that before. Can you slow it down a little bit?" Yeah, I know that song. Like, I'd probably be the same way myself. Um, but I mean, MIDI is a good way of trying to simulate um, music a little bit, you know, to um, kind of, give a musical, give a song that's obviously more digital than real, for obviously,
Mm,
and it will allow for us to kind of create any kind of um, you know uh, musical piece on whatever we want to make, right?
right.
So now, obviously, if we're making a clone, we could probably just, take the clone's music if necessary. It's not like we're going to be making money off of it. We're just trying to reproduce it, right?
Pretty much.
So it doesn't really matter, you know. And obviously, we're probably going to get hit with like maybe copyright when we do that if we ever decide to, display the song while construction or playing the clone during stream. So we'll have to worry about that when that time comes. Um, but it's not always like that. Um, but I mean, I've gotten hit with copyrights for games before myself.
Yeah.
Star Wars and the end song for Plants vs Zombies. You know, the end song for Portal. It's
Yeah, got
you
hit
know,
by in my case, Green Hill Zone when I was redoing that level multiple times for the Chaos Emeralds on Sonic Mania.
oh geez, yeah. It's it's just unfortunate that
Yeah.
it it gets to that point, but I mean, it's not much that you can really do about it, you know. So, um, but let's go ahead and get into the MIDI device support, at least
Yep.
for Unreal Engine, and see what we can do with it, shall we?
So, yep.
Okay, so the MIDI device support plugin adds the ability to send and receive MIDI, musical instrument digital interface protocol messages. This is most frequently used to communicate between Unreal Engine and external hardware such as MIDI keyboards. However, because MIDI is a data protocol, a user can use data parsed from messages to drive non-audio related parameters as well. Currently, Unreal only supports streamed MIDI data. Reading MIDI files is not supported. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is there, what the
Um,
streamed MIDI data versus.
that
I
MIDI
mean,
would
I'm
have
assuming.
to be running, but if you have a file saved, like already recorded in MIDI, it wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of. But then again, how are you supposed to, save the file for future usage?
And we would have to look into what audio formats are supported by Unreal and try and save it
Yeah,
on said format.
yeah. So you basically play the MIDI, but you have to save it in a non-MIDI format, which might make it sound a little off. So I don't
Depending
know.
on the format we use, yes.
Yeah, so that might be a little problematic, but I mean, this is just one of their examples that they're talking about anyway. We might need to just, yeah, we'll come to that point when we come to that point, because let's face it, like I said, neither of us are too musically inclined, but
No.
I mean, if we get to that point where we're gonna need to create our own little musical jingles, then we'll have to figure out the process of going about doing that. So that's gonna be fun. So, um, but what is MIDI? MIDI is a data protocol designed for communicating between different audio hardware devices using MIDI messages. A MIDI message starts with a byte containing the type of message it is, or a status byte, followed by data bytes. For example, one of the most common MIDI messages is a note on message, which consists of a status byte that both signifies it as a note on message and communicates the channel it is intended for, a value from 0 to 15, followed by a byte of pitch data and then a byte of velocity data. Because the most significant bit of each data byte is used to signify that it is a data byte, both the pitch and velocity data can only contain a value between 0 and 127. The MIDI protocol also specifies how to interpret bytes of data, such as how to translate a pitch value from 0 to 127 into units such as hertz. While Unreal does not directly translate MIDI data this way, which potentially allows users to use MIDI messages to drive behavior other than audio, our sound utilities plugin includes several functions that can be used to perform MIDI data conversions. Okay. Um, maybe maybe my brain is kind of being very slow right at this moment in time, but I had a hard time trying to like really take a lot of that in per se. Maybe, you know, you know, I know, you know, information comes at you, you know, on a digital, you know, you know, when it comes to you digitally, obviously everything is, you know, changed into ones and zeros for the computer itself. Okay, it can only handle machine language, right?
Yeah.
Um, but so I mean, you know, a byte of pitch data and a byte of velocity data, no problem. I can kind of understand that. You know, it's talking about, you know, uh, a, a little bit of, you know, a section of zeros and ones that is being sent to the computer and stuff like that. No worries on that. And the fact that it, you know, only goes from 0 to 127 makes sense, right?
Right.
But um, I'm not quite sure about like the second part of this. MIDI protocol also specifies how to interpret bytes of data, such as how to translate a pitch value from 0 to 127 into a unit such as hertz. So, so I'm not quite sure, you know, what's going on there. Why does it need to kind of translate that into hertz? You know, what's the reasoning behind that?
Not entirely sure.
You know, yeah, it doesn't necessarily give you like a why in that particular case. So I'm kind of curious
hertz
as
is
to
the
what.
frequency of the sound, so I don't
Yeah,
know what it gains from this conversion.
yeah. While Unreal does not directly translate MIDI data this way, okay. Um, so you're trying to translate the MIDI data from the pitch of 0 to 127 to hertz, but Unreal doesn't handle that, which potentially allows users to use MIDI messages to drive behavior other than audio. I'm still kind of confused by like the,
Yeah,
you know,
that
what do you mean
part's
by,
confusing.
you know, what do you mean by MIDI messages? that drive behavior other than audio.
Yeah, that part confuses me. I'm not really sure
You
what it's
know,
talking about.
you know, like I mentioned before, typically MIDI is all about, or MIDI is about musical instrument digital interface, right?
Yes.
So what do you mean by um, MIDI messages for one, and that it drives behavior rather than audio when it's supposed to be about musical instruments? So, I don't know. It feels this this paragraph is feeling a little off there. I'm not quite sure what we're missing in there. It feels like they're giving us some information, but they're not giving us everything either. Um, it's like a mini message starts with a byte containing a type of message. It is a status byte. Well, what do you mean by a type of message? What do you know? Huh? You know. So uh, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing like a necessary key or something like that. Like they're like on, hey, here's this lockbox. Good luck. And it's like, can I get the key for said lockbox so I can open it up? you know, at least that's what it feels like to me right at this moment in time. So like I'm if I had that key, I'd be able to kind of understand more about what they're kind of trying to go for. So maybe we'll find out more later.
Yeah.
Because I mean we're still at the very beginning of it, so maybe we'll catch on. But okay, so MIDI output. Or are you ready to move on, or do you
Yeah,
feel like you wanted to?
let's move on.
Okay. I mean, if there's something that you're also confused about,
No,
I
I'm
mean,
in the
feel
same
free to.
position as you for that one. Like,
Okay.
what those MIDI messages.
Okay. Um, yeah, if there's something else that is kind of throwing you off as well, I mean, obviously feel free to, speak up about it too. I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to override you on anything either. Okay.
Mhm.
So, MIDI output. To get MIDI output functioning in Unreal Engine 4, follow the workflow described below. Find the ID of the device you want to send the MIDI signal to. Send the MIDI. Find the device you want to send it. I mean, you're trying to send it through audio, so huh? You can do this by selecting the default MIDI device, iterating through all available MIDI devices, and searching for a specific MIDI device by name. Am I missing something here? I mean, MIDI output is kind of meant to go through the audio. So is there something that we're kind of missing on this? Like, hey,
Maybe
is
you're telling
mid
it to only work in a specific audio and not all of it, maybe?
like is MIDI just not able to work in stereo for some reason? That you know,
I think it should. What I meant is like, if it's playing like a song that's per se, uh, in a specific area, like get this MIDI to run at that specific area.
hmm,
That's how I'm perceiving it. Because if it has to find the ID So you're telling, okay, go grab this MIDI in particular for this particular area.
Yeah, just I don't know. It feels off about this. You know, I'm not quite. Um, you know, like if you go to your volume settings, right, and
Yeah.
you know select it, you do a right click, you go to properties. You know, you can kind of change. You know where your audio is being outputted to. Is there actually like um you know something specifically for MIDI itself in that list? You know, kind of curious about that now. Um, the like I'm looking at speakers and obviously I'm not seeing anything in terms of like MIDI uh for output. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not really seeing anything in terms of like, you know, MIDI that way.
Well, maybe because
So
of how its
maybe
MIDI works, that it's only streamed. Like maybe you have like multiple MIDI tracks, but you have to have multiple MIDIs open at once, and you're pretty much just telling, okay, grab this one, not the other ones.
maybe I
Because
don't know.
remember it says it only works while MIDI is being streamed, not MIDI files.
Yeah.
You're saying grab this active MIDI, don't touch the other active MIDIs.
Yeah, but I mean where exactly is it being sent to? That's you know, it's like selecting the default MIDI device. It's like, okay, you're sending it to a MIDI device. You know, what's the you know what's being considered as a MIDI device? That's kind of my thought line on that. But
It might be
let's
explained down further down below, maybe. I don't know.
maybe. The relevant blueprint functions are get default MIDI output device ID, find MIDI devices, and get MIDI output device ID by name. Create your MIDI output U object using the blueprint function and create MIDI device output controller. This function takes an ID as input and returns either a reference to the MIDI output or no reference if it is unsuccessful in connecting to the MIDI device. In order to make sure you cache your MIDI device output controller into a variable, otherwise your MIDI controller is at risk of being unexpectedly garbage collected. Okay. I guess C++ now has garbage collection,
And I don't think that that falls more on the blueprint than not the C++.
but I mean, Unreal Engine is based off of C++, or at least I knew it was, so kind
Yeah,
of,
but on the blueprint you don't touch C++. You use what you specify down below. You don't really code anything with the blueprint.
right, but I'm saying that the underlying structure of those blueprints, you know, would be C++. So it's like it's weird seeing you know, seeing the terms garbage collected in a C++ format. I mean, unless they recently uh, put something in for C++ to handle um, memory leaks now. I
I
mean, which
don't know.
I mean, let's face it. That you know, one of the reasons why Java, you know, uh, why a lot of people like Java is because of the garbage collection. You know, they don't have to worry about memory management. They don't have to worry about pointers. They don't have to worry about allocating memory, deallocating memory. You know, they don't have to deal with that when it comes to Java. So, um, so you know, you would think that hey, if I'm writing up something in C and C++, it would be nice if I actually had a garbage collection that would see the fact that, hey, there's nothing pointing to this memory location anymore. Let's get rid of it before it causes us additional problems. I could see them trying to work on getting that taken care of. But at the same time, um, you know, that could lead to a lot of, um, messy programming. That could lead to a lot of um, kind of time wasted
Hmm.
because their garbage collection is always kind of running. Um, I don't know. Yeah. Well, whatever. Well, let's move on.
Hmm.
Not sure what's going on there, but
Don't know
it's
either.
it kind of struck me as odd. That's all. Um, so three, send over your MIDI commands. These are going to be functions under MIDI device manager that act on the MIDI device output controller. Generally, the functions are used most often are send MIDI note on, send MIDI note off, and send MIDI pitch bend. If you're more experienced with MIDI protocols, you'll also have the option of constructing raw MIDI event data using send MIDI event. A basic blueprint implementation for MIDI output will resemble the image below, though likely with more elaborate instructions for what MIDI data to send. Okay, so um, we're getting into very specific, you know, MIDI concepts here that it feels like they're not going to really explain much upon.
Hmm.
And I think we're probably going to be doing ourselves a disservice on trying to move on from this because I didn't get much from that at
Neither
all.
did I. This is in the
And
advanced part, so
yeah, which I mean
I
makes
guess
sense.
it's expecting us to have certain knowledge regarding audio, apparently.
Well, in specific MIDI audio.
Yeah.
You know, so seeing that we don't have any like, sure, I might know MIDI, but that doesn't mean that I know MIDI. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, what they want you to have when you enter this particular topic is that you really need to know it. Like, you've worked with MIDI multiple times prior. You know exactly what they're talking about by, the MIDI pitch bend or the MIDI device output controller or something along those lines. Now, some of this might actually be more Unreal Engine than MIDI. I don't really know, but um, they're using a lot of concepts that are associated with, you probably haven't needing to know more about what MIDI can do than what they are really offering.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that we should probably just go ahead and move on, friend, because
Yeah.
I know that there's one other section, the MIDI input, but like I said, I didn't really get much from the MIDI output at all, and I don't really want to confuse this any more than what we're already at
Yeah.
on this. Obviously, when the time comes, we'll need to, if we need to use MIDI uh, in the future, then we'll have to tackle that when the time comes. But for right now, it, it's feeling like it's talking about very advanced topics that we have no clue about, and we would need to, do more of a deeper dive into MIDI itself than what we're getting here.
Yeah.
So it's basically like saying, "Hey, you know MIDI? Great. This is the topic for you. If you don't know MIDI, I would recommend go study MIDI first,
Yeah.
you know, or go to like some other tutorial out there about MIDI first before coming and tackling this, you know." So that's my interpretation of this. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. So the next one after this is the native sound field ambisonics. Ambisonics rendering. Okay.
Okay.
Never heard of sound field before. Never even heard of ambisonics before. And the fact that you have rendering for it is like, okay. I thought rendering was more of a visual than audio applications, but then maybe I'm just being dumb on that. The
Um,
rendered definition, um, render is just to provide or give. Okay, so you can literally render audio. Good to know. Didn't really consider that before, but um, so yeah. Hmm. Typically whenever I hear render, it's like, hey, I'm rendering the art or something like that, or but no, the definition of render is just, you know, making, cause to be or become, provide or give. It's like, yeah, okay.
okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm on the same thought line. I hear rendering for when it comes to this stuff, and I think, okay, maybe you're rendering graphics or geometry or things like that.
yeah,
But first time I hear it for audio.
indeed. But I mean, it still works apparently. It still can be used in that context. So I guess sure. Um, okay, so a sound field is an audio representation of a spatial area, real or virtual. Um, or spatial area, real or virtual. It's like,
Spatial, it should have been, yeah.
yeah. One of the most challenging problems in both real world or virtual audio is how to best capture and represent a sound field. Hmm, okay. Um, Interesting. So, the challenge of capturing and representing sound fields. If you ever taken microphones to a beach, a forest, or any other locale that you wanted to capture as a soundscape, you already have hands-on experience with the difficulties you might encounter. For example, say that you bring a single cardioid microphone into the forest and you're able to get a great audio recording of a bird calling as it flies from your right side to your left. Assume that your microphone is equally sensitive in all directions, and that the bird is continually calling at the same volume. You can play back that recording at equal volume in the left and right channels of your home speaker setup. Okay. The call of the bird flying past the microphone will natively have the same volume in both speakers. If it calls at the same volume and all that jazz, but because of the limitations of this recording setup, you might not record the bird in a way that would give the listener an idea of where the bird is in relation to that listener, or in which direction the bird is flying. The recording will sound louder in both speakers as the bird gets closer to the microphone, and quieter in both as the bird flies away. If you were to record this bird with two microphones spaced some distance apart, one for each speaker you play the sound back on, you would have vastly more information. So with two microphones, the call of the bird will be louder in the first mic and softer in the second, then louder in the second, and as the sound grows softer in the first. Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like I'm liking the kind of the description that they're giving here so far, so I'm appreciating that.
Yep.
As the bird moves from right to left, it becomes louder in the left microphone and quieter in the right microphone. Um, by using two microphones to record a stereo audio asset, we've already captured important spatial information from the sound field into our audio stream. How far to the left or right of the microphones the bird actually is. If we added more microphones, we could capture more spatial information about the bird's location and motion in space, including if the bird flies behind our microphone array instead of in front of it, and even how high the bird is above our array of microphones. Okay. Downmixing is the process of taking an audio source and rendering it as a number of speaker outputs. If you're familiar with the way that downmixing occurs in games, you might notice that it is, uh, oh, how do you pronounce this word again? Nautilus?
Analogous.
Yeah, analogous to the microphone array described in the previous diagram. Um, Typically, an audio source is played in each speaker, and the loudness is directly proportional to how close the source is to where the speaker would be in the game world relative to the other speakers. A typical panning system is analogous, yeah,
It's a
to
weird word.
placing, yeah, to placing an omnidirectional microphone where a speaker might be in the game world. When we downmix our game to stereo, we are preserving information about how far to the left or right of the player an audio source is. Okay, downmixing audio to 5.1 or 7.1 gives additional information about whether the source is in front of or behind the player. What does those values have? Let's move on. Based on how loud the source is in the surround left and surround right channels compared to the front left and front right channels. Okay, so um, so when it comes to the 5.1 and 7.1,
Yeah, what is that referring to? That's not very clear.
yeah, the only thing that I can think of on this, and again, I'm kind of shooting in the dark because I don't have like definitive information on this. I'm not like 100% correct. Okay, so
Hmm.
take this with a grain of salt. But you know, I think I've seen this when it comes to surround sound in the past, meaning that typically a 5.1 is typically referred to as a five speaker setup in your room, meaning that you have a speaker in the upper right, a speaker in the upper left, um, a speaker in the in front of you upper right, in front of you upper left, behind you upper right, behind you upper left, and then there's a speaker typically like right behind you, or like a bass like right at the very uh, right in front of you, like where your monitor would, like not necessarily where your monitor would be, but kind of like below the monitor. In some cases,
Yeah.
that would typically be like what a 5.1 system, I believe, is. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, based on how
Um,
much of everything explained so far, it would sound like this is would work for a home theater. So it keeps on talking about like the directional audio.
right. 7.1 is the same thing as the 5.1, but obviously you add two additional speakers, typically on the, to your right and to your left. Now, I don't know, they're saying down mixing audio to those, as though you're, I'm, Um, like, is there like a more, you know, the um, oh, I might be kind of confusing myself a little bit. Okay, because when I hear down, you know, as in the down mixing, I'm thinking you're kind of uh like in a sense degrading, or just kind of lowering the standard, or
Downgrading.
uh,
That's
yeah.
yeah. I don't think it's
But
referring to that.
yeah, it's not. Well, I mean, you look back up at the definition and it says down mixing is the process of taking audio source and rendering it to a number of speaker outputs.
Yeah,
Why they call it down mixing, I don't really know.
I
That
don't know.
that you know, it's just that's just the keyword that they're using in this particular case. So it's like, okay, why? Don't really know. Um, Obviously, there's probably some history behind it. Otherwise, they wouldn't really use it, right? Or
Mhm.
I'm assuming that this is a keyword that has been already established in like the audio world already, that they're using it, right?
Mm,
One would think.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I would. It would be. I mean, it might be something that they made themselves. Could be quite possible. I mean, a lot of companies do that often, themselves. But if they did create this, then I'd be wondering what their reasoning behind the that word is. You know, um, because that doesn't necessarily speak to me like, hey, this is the process and rendering. It's like, huh? you know, Typically I don't really associate down with rendering, which is you're typically making. So it's like they typically have different connotations. So
Hmm.
I don't know. But down mixing audio to those systems basically says, hey, you're building, you're taking the audio source and rendering it to a 5.1 or 7.1 system. So now you have sound coming from all around you. So yeah. Okay. It's weird. Um, it's a weird word. That's all.
Hmm.
You have any kind of questions so far, or
No.
you? Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes.
For many applications, this may be enough information for the player to be able to localize an audio source. However, for many use cases, it would be ideal to also have elevational information. Okay, interesting. There are many ways of relating the 3D position of an audio source when encoding, capturing, a representation of a sound field that allow easy decoding, playback, on any speaker configuration needed. These methods provide a rich spatial audio experience. Okay. Um, so, they're saying for many applications, this would be great if you're just kind of using, if you're just like on a horizontal field, right? That you're not really, um, like you hear a sound coming from in front of you, you hear a sound coming from behind you, you hear sounds to your left and to your right. But once you start adding in like height or depth into the sound, now it becomes, are you hearing the same exact sound if it's like high above or uh, down below you? Um, you know, um, how does that sound in your surround sound, right? you know, is the recording even going to record those sounds at all? Like if you have like a directional mic, right? That's basically saying, hey, I'm only capturing sound, from this one particular direction. Is it going to pick up what's above or down below? More than likely not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, unless of course that sound wave kind of, you know, traverses down to that directional mic so that you can actually kind of pick it up. But it's probably going to be like it's probably not going to sound all that great. You might only hear like a little bit overall, you know. So, mm, okay, so, um, hmm, there are many ways of retaining the three position of an audio source. Well, then, hopefully they cover that, but
Hmm.
one of the most popular sound field representations for retaining both elevational and azimuthal information. Okay. About audio and down mixing sources is called ambiosonics. Okay, first off, I'm gonna look up azimuthal
I've
because
never heard that more before.
it's name. Did I forget to copy it?
Hmm.
um. Okay, so uh, it it's kind of uh, it's kind of based off of azimuth. Azimuth. Okay. Uh, which is azimuthal. Okay, azimuthal. Okay, interesting. So azimuth is an arc of the horizon measured between a fixed point, such as a true north, and the vertical circle passing through the center of an object, usually in astronomy and navigational clockwise from the north point through 360 degrees. Uh, there goes my head again. Horizontal direction expressed as an angular distance between the direction of a fixed point, such as an observer's heading, and the direction of the object. Okay, well that's Merriam-Webster's definition there. Um, let's look at Wikipedia on this. Um, okay, azimuth is the angular measurement in a spherical coordinate system which represents the horizontal angle from a cardinal direction, most commonly north. Okay, I can kind of see if you're are you able to see the wiki for azimuth
Yeah, I'm
as
looking at
well?
a wiki for it. Yes.
Okay, so you can kind of see the image that they're providing there.
Yeah.
You have the observer, um, you have the direction of true north, but they're looking like off to the right towards a star, and the horizon, right?
Yes.
So the azimuth, so like you have the angle where you have true north, and then you're looking at the object in the sky. What they did was that the curve from the north to what you're looking at, that curve right there is what they call the azimuth, um, which is interesting. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, how does that apply to sound? Who the fuck knows? um, you know, what? I mean, this gives a good um, idea as to what azimuth is, at least. So
Yeah.
you can at least kind of move on with that and read this sentence again. One of the most popular sound field representations for retaining both the elevational, which obviously the height uh, of an object, whether it's up higher, depth, you know, and azimuthal information, which is obviously that curve there.
Yeah.
So
Like how far
so now
off to the left, for example, from where you're looking, maybe.
right. So um like okay, so if you have like a sound, right?
Yeah.
Um uh and let's say that it's coming from your in front of you but off to your left, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't have any azimuthal information, then either that sound is going to be coming from your left or in front of you. Okay. If
Yeah.
you like have speakers that are like in the cardinal directions, right?
Yeah.
So you'd only be hearing it off to the left, or you'd only be hearing it up in front, or maybe you're hearing it in both speakers at once, right?
Right.
And then you'd be like, okay, where's that sound coming from? Is it coming from in front of me? Is it coming to my left? I don't understand, right?
Mm.
But with azimuthal information, um, it kind of gives you that impression as to like, hey, it's over in this particular direction, via sound, and you're like on, oh, it's, I heard it off in this direction. So, um, so that's interesting. Okay.
Mm.
Um, I'm assuming you got it, or do
Yes.
you?
Yes, I do. I did.
Okay. So, but uh, in order to do that, for retaining both elevational and azimuthal information about audio and down mixing sources, it's called ambisonics. I wonder if there's actually a definition for that real quick, or a way for me to know what exactly how to pronounce that, because ambisonic. Okay, that's how Oxford Languages says it. Okay,
Mm.
ambisonic. Gotcha. Okay. Uh, ambisonics in Unreal Engine. Ambisonics is a specific sound field representation that projects positional audio into a sphere using spherical harmonics. Oof. Okay. You may recognize spherical harmonics from their use in lighting for video games. Ambisonics is equivalent for sound. The higher the order of ambisonics we use, the higher the spatial resolution of our ambisonic audio stream will be, resulting in easier to locate audio when we decode the ambisonic audio stream to speaker positions. Okay. It's kind of making sense a little bit.
Yeah.
Still, it will obviously be really difficult to try to um, build something like that right at this moment in time, I would imagine, especially in the 3D. Uh, really, it would seem like it would be really difficult for us to kind of imitate that right at this moment in time.
I don't know. I think we might
But
have imitated it at one point when we were messing with sound volume.
well, in a way we were,
Like,
but
I don't remember now what option it was that we put that would put the sound like in like a sort of like a sphere. When you left that,
mhm.
you wouldn't hear anymore, and as you were getting closer, it was getting louder and louder. Well, when you also looked off to one side, I would only hear it in one side of my headset and not so much the other.
Mhm. Um, well, hopefully we won't necessarily need to calculate that ourselves, but
Hopefully not.
um, if we do, then that's what I mean by that. It'd be like, you know, trying to do the trig, the geometry, the calculus to try to figure out like where are we placing that sound from, or placing that sound. That's where I would be like, that would be a little rough to do. Not to say that we can't do it, and just saying, that would put a lot of work on our intention for a very simple game.
Yeah.
That's all. So. There are various microphone arrays available that even allow you to record directly to an ambisonic audio file because you can rotate ambisonic encoded audio as you see fit. Ambisonics is a great choice for ambient audio beds, background sounds. As Unreal Engine plays back ambisonic audio sources, we can dynamically rotate the ambisonic audio bed as the player looks around, giving the impression that the ambient audio is really coming from fixed directions in the game world. Okay. I mean, so far not bad.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of appreciating this kind of um, explanations. Obviously, there's some keywords here that I'm like, oh, what? But you know, so far is it's done well in my particular opinion that they're explaining it well enough that I'm understanding what they're trying to go for. So, or they're giving examples of it so that you
Yeah.
are kind of understanding what their meaning behind it
Yeah.
is. So, but we're kind of out of time, my friend. It is
Yeah.
now 3 o'clock,
Yeah, and I
and
gotta get something to eat.
there's still a lot more left on this particular session, so we'll probably have to cover that tomorrow. Although it looks like a lot of this, coming up is more
Using it.
using it for the most part, um, and might actually get more into more audio concepts that we might not be used to or aware of. Like I'm seeing first Malam. Okay, what's that all about? Kind of thing. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this might be might give us some problems, but we might be able to understand it as well. You never know.
Yeah.
but, okay. but mm, we'll cover that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So importing and playing an ambisonic sound audio asset. So, at least that's the next section. So, okay.
Alright.
All right, man. You go get yourself something to eat. I'm gonna go grab myself something to drink because I'm very thirsty right now.
Hmm.
I really need to kind of get myself some like more bottles of lemonade or something like that. I need to order myself some more lemonade. But that's it. That's where we're gonna go ahead and end our Unreal session. So,
Yeah.
um, if anybody's watching this, like on our videos, like maybe you're watching this days or months down the line or something like that, and you have an idea or more information about the topics that we've covered or previous topics, then feel free to talk about it in the comment section below.
Yeah.
Please be constructive. Please make sure that you explain well enough. If
Yeah,
that's
we
the
are
case.
not sound experts. Audio is not our strong point,
Yeah.
nor is art, but that's another
Right.
subject. If you understand something that the idea we didn't, or maybe we misunderstood, we welcome any explanation down the comments below.
Yeah. Exactly. That would be very very handy, very helpful. Plus, it might help out someone else later on as well.
Yeah.
They might go, oh, I also don't know what this is all about, so it might help out someone there too. So, I encourage people to explain more um, in the comments at the very least. So, or if you're like right now with us live on stream, you know, you can try to explain to us like right here, but then again, our brain might go on,
Just
might
too much
might
info.
right might explode just from the influx of new information that we're not familiar with. So be aware that that might also happen too.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, and I'll definitely shout out people that bring bring those that information up on topics or
Yeah, I
in
will do the
comments and
same
stuff
as
like
well.
that. So, or at least I'll try to. So, um, also, we're obviously going to be covering quite a bit of the Unreal, so look forward to some more information along those lines.
Yeah.
You know, check each of our channels out. Check out Blackheart if you're watching me right now. Hopefully, if you're watching Blackheart, come on over to my channel maybe, and
Yeah.
see some of my videos. That'd be nice too.
Yeah. Link to his channel down in the description below.
Indeed, same with mine. Talking about descriptions, feel free to check out our descriptions for more. We provide plenty of other links down there, such as Discord and any other various links that like Blackheart has. I have some for Patreon and Throne. I'm pretty sure that he has one for Throne.
Yeah, go for Throne, for Discord, and the other channel I multi-stream to.
Exactly. So check those out. Help us out with the YouTube algorithm. That would be fantastic.
Yep.
And that's it. So,
Yep.
Take care, my friend. You enjoy your snack, your
Yep.
food, and I shall see you in a little bit with Genshin Impact.
Yep. I'll be seeing you in a little bit there.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Okay. Like my friend there said, yeah, that is gonna be it for now, for today. Tomorrow we'll continue that whole ambisonic sound stuff. And yes, I'll be back in roughly an hour or so. Hopefully in an hour, not more. I'm gonna go get myself something to eat, and then I'll be back with some Genshin Impact. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in a little bit. Bye bye!